Where in so Tony, where in Boston then? Have you guys been to Boston? Like Clayton, Phil?
It's
Never.
Austin, not Boston.
Oh, it's
Austin.
Austin.
Oh, Austin.
Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay, a lot different. It's hot down
Yes.
there. You're a maniac.
It's hot.
It's 105. It's hot.
105.
It's super funny. Like I've never been down to Oxus, but I watched this influencer called Christian Guzman. I don't know where he is in Texas. He has like a huge elite gym down there and things like that. And supposedly it's crazy. So I need to make the trip at some point. It feels like
It's a happening town. It's a really cool city. So yeah, we'll see how.
I haven't.
you guys.
I've been needing to get to Austin, Boston, and Seattle. Those are like the last like three big cities I feel like I haven't checked out. And I hear Austin's great. I hear Boston's cool. Like I love sports, and like I think that'd be fun. And need to check them both out. So maybe I'll come. Maybe I'll come swing by.
You're welcome, man. They're all great cities. I've been really blessed. Like I've been to all 50 states, and I've been just blessed throughout my career to just have traveled to all the major cities in the country. And so it's just been a really. I also am a lot older than you guys, but it's a. Yeah, it's been it's cool. Every city has its own unique flavor, and it's just it's neat, very neat.
Don't be fooled by Philip's shockingly young looks and good looks. He's old in the heart. We're just like for everyone's joining in now, guys. Hello, everyone, as you guys enter, or anyone that might be on the live streams that might not be in the chats too. What's going on? I'm seeing all the comments coming too. Well, we're gonna start in a few minutes here. We'll wait for anyone else that's gonna be jumping in or on the lives too. Where are you right now?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I don't know who he asked.
I guess Tony, because Tony, you're currently in. You said Ohio, right?
Yeah, I'm just happen to be in Ohio. That's where I grew up. So I'm staying with family for a few weeks until my Texas house is ready. So that's what's going on for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then Clayton, you said you're in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, I live in San Juan, so I've been here like 4 years, but I'm originally from St. Louis.
Wow. What made you make the switch?
Originally there's there's really good tax benefits down here. So had a couple of things go right, and I was like, I don't want to pay capital gains anymore.
Fair.
And then started the Amazon business at the same time. But I love it, man. Like the weather's incredible. I speak Spanish, and so it's fun to be able to like practice Spanish down here. I mean, I just love it, man. Like the weather mostly. Missouri winters suck. Like they're awful. So like San Juan's got it beat, basically.
That's incredible.
We're here in Toronto too. So Philip and I are in the Toronto HQs over here. So it's a little bit colder than how it is in Texas, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, right?
Yeah, sorry, I just complained about
everyone.
Missouri winters. You guys are up in Toronto. Sorry about that.
I like Toronto as a Clevelander. When people go to Canada from the United States, they go to Toronto, and like every elementary school takes their students on a class trip to Toronto so they can see what Canada's like. Or at least that's how it was when I was a kid, and I remember seeing Loonies and Toonies for the first time and just being fascinated that the money was so different. That was my first childhood experience with Toronto.
I love it. Guys, everyone here, thank you guys so much for joining in. Hello, everyone. I'm seeing all the comments flow in. So thanks, guys, for joining. And anyone in the live sessions as well. This is going to be a really cool one. And anyone who's not listening directly, we're going to have the recording set up. And we got a couple of really cool things. Kyle, bang on. I'm answering questions before they even come in. Yes, everything's going to get recorded. We got some really cool stuff that's going to be happening. And I got something saved near the end of it for this overrated, underrated. Guys, we did this last session that we did. And it was was pretty controversial, actually. We did a whole level of like, what do you guys think about different parts of the e-commerce Amazon space, overrated, underrated? Yeah, people had some different opinions. So I'm gonna hear your guys' opinions out. Philip, I don't think you'll get canceled, so you'll be okay. I think so. So we should be all right. For some just quick intros as everyone gets settled and we start to kick it off, we're gonna keep this really casual. We have Prime Day coming up, and last week we said, you know what, let's whip something together, because on our end we're getting tons of questions about Prime Day prep, and while it still feels a little bit last minute, surprisingly, there's a lot of merchants that are still scratching their head and saying, okay, almost itching to try to figure out what else can we do last second. Is there anything we can do? And we wanted to whip this session together to really just see, okay, we're in the fourth quarter. Prime Day is about to happen. What can we do before this final buzzer beater to just lock in those extra sales and get a couple more sales boosts to help win us over? So I'll be going through some quick intros of the crew and just get an idea of where everyone's from. Some selfish introductions are definitely needed with the incredibly talented people and the folks I'm with. I'm going to be going through a couple questions that I selfishly have been asking, and between Tony, Clayton, and Philip, they're gonna have some really cool answers for me. So a lot of these questions I've been thinking about personally, so I know the sellers and merchants and everyone watching this probably have pretty similar. So I'm super excited for this. So let's jump right into it. Just so everyone has some context and introduction. So my name's Blair. I'm on the AMZ prep side. We have fulfillment centers across Canada and the USA. We do a lot of really cool stuff, but everything that I'm doing, I lead a lot of our marketing initiatives. Some say I'm just the face behind it, but I feel like I try to be more. But we're doing a lot of really cool stuff. Let's work backwards. Clayton, I don't know how, and I was just on a podcast, so I'm curious what people say. So if you're at a bar and someone is asking who's Clayton, what's Carbon 6, like, how do you answer that?
Yeah, I just walk away. Such an odd. No, I'm joking. Yeah, so like Carbon 6 is a software aggregation company. I mean, and so when a lot of times people hear the word aggregator, they think it means that we're buying up Amazon like selling companies, right? Because there's a ton of those. But no, what we're doing is actually buying softwares that help people sell on Amazon and then improving them. And that means bringing resources, whether or not it's more money to like get the word out there more that the software is incredible, or if it needs improvement to bring the right people in to develop it out, or whatever resource it needs, we bring that. And then, yeah, we're buying more softwares all the time. We're up to 15 now. And I, until recently, have been like the director of affiliates, and I'm actually transitioning roles to be what's called a community ambassador. So basically I was doing like too many jobs at one time and balancing too much. They were having me do a lot of travel, a lot of speaking at events and a lot of webinars like this. And I told them, I said, I don't feel like I'm being a great director of affiliates. You know, if I'm traveling all the time, it's hard to really do the like back end stuff that's necessary. So we just hired a couple more people to help with that. And I'm still going to be very, very like on top of that, but it's not, I'm transitioning out. So yeah, now at this point, basically I'll be going to a lot of different events and speaking and spreading the words about our software. But yeah, that's who I am. I've been an Amazon seller since 2018. I've been in e-commerce, different parts of arbitrage and online sales since 2014. So yeah, I've been in e-commerce for a while. And just thought what Carbon 6 was doing was really cool. So I jumped on board back in November. I know the CEO lives in Puerto Rico too. We met like through mutual friends, and he was like, "Dude, you should join." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." So that's me.
Tony, I don't think you need too much introduction, but damn, it's good. You give us a little bit of background on a bit about your history.
So yeah, I'll go backwards. So right now I work at Elevate Brands. And I actually just started a few months ago. I'm really excited, to be there. I think, as Clayton mentioned, there's a bunch of different aggregators in the space that are buying Amazon brands, and that's, definitely a core theme of what Elevate does. I think, I think that we've operated, financially much more prudently than a lot of others in the space that have been struggling. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And I'm just excited, to be with that group. And it's different. coming from more of the, accelerator or agency space. So prior to working at Elevate, I worked at Pattern for 3 years as a director of advertising. And, Pattern had 100 brands and, or almost 150 brands, and we spent $100 million on Amazon and on PPC. And it's very different working, on the agency side with clients versus owning your own brands. I think on the own side, you can be much more honest, less fluff, much more honest and direct about what's going on, and really get to the root cause of challenges and be a lot more serious, which I like. So I just did a move from Utah to Texas. But prior to Pattern, I spent 3.5 years at Amazon. I was the first external hire on the Amazon advertising team, and I worked primarily with brands doing north of 10 million in sales on Amazon. So I've been doing this for a number of years. I was telling folks this is going to be my 7th Prime Day. So this is my seventh Prime Day of advertising, and so that's I've been doing this for a while. But that's sort of my recent 10-year history.
So Philip, you have to try to beat that. So I want to give good luck, soldier.
You have to make me have to go after Tony, eh? No, so I'm Philip. I'm the director of paid media here at Sequence. So we're AMZ Prep's marketplace services vertical and division. Much kind of like Clayton, I jumped in the Amazon space when I was in university. So around, I think it was 2017 or 2018 for a little bit. Blair and I were selling ourselves on Amazon at the time. To say the least, it didn't go too well. I think we realized very quick the learning curves and challenges of Amazon if you aren't properly educated. So I took a little bit of a backseat on Amazon for a while. I went into investment banking, and I came back here about a year and a half ago now. So I'm the director of paid media at Sequence. I look over all advertising clients, making sure the strategy is right, and all of that good stuff with our advertising managers currently.
You thought Amazon was hard, so you went into IB.
Yeah. Just because finance and banking was any easier, right?
It's just buying and selling. It's not that hard, right?
So guys, obviously the meat of why we're here, and I have a couple of things I want to ask you guys afterwards, but Prime Day is coming up. For some, a couple more Prime Days than others. Tony, I feel like you're the same age as us at this point, so everyone's on the same playing field. But you have the reps in the gym in terms of the Prime Day experience that just some of us don't have. I wasn't even in university at the time when you're saying some of those Prime Days. So obviously it was a wild west way back when. Tony, a separate question: how has Prime Day changed since it started versus where it is now? Any interesting insights since the 2015, 2016 Prime Day?
I think so. I mean, obviously the duration has changed, right? It was, it was 1 day, and then it was 36 hours. Now it's 40. It's now Prime 2 days. So Prime Day is kind of misleading. I think the Amazon makes a lot of money on Prime Day, So and I can tell you, the entire time I was at Amazon, there was sort of this consistent rolling with Black Friday and Prime Day. So like Prime Day, the year I started at Amazon in 2016, was their highest selling day ever. Then that Black Friday was, then the following Prime Day was, then that Black Friday was, and they've just continued that trend for several years. But I think, obviously the duration of the day, if you look across the last decade, there was a time where the Amazon business was, 80+% vendor, right? And so, in 2019, Amazon just crossed, or 2018, they crossed the 50% threshold of vendor seller, in terms of retail sales. And now, Amazon is 65% plus seller, right? So the retail sales coming from third-party sellers versus vendors is significantly higher, and now we see Seller Central starting to get some more TLC and things like that. But I think, if we look at the duration of the day, the number of brands and products participating in the day, the number of deals that are run, the steepness of discounts, and I think at this point, I mean, it's an expectation. I think in the beginning it was a trial, and now it's an expectation of like, hey, what's going to happen on this sales day in July? And I think one thing that's interesting, not just with Prime Day for Amazon, but just over the course of, like, if you look at other retail, you now see Walmart, Wayfair, there's a bunch of giant brands that do deals and discounts, on this day to just try and also capture people in the shopping sentiment. So you have a lot of other big retailers, just sort of following suit and trying to ride the wave that Amazon started.
Interesting. How big for like a company like Pattern, for example, how big is that day on Amazon compared to the other ones? Obviously, like that, it's a really big data set, which is why I think it's so interesting. And Clayton, you may have some cool data points because of all the different tools and the data there. But I'm just curious, how really big is it for them compared to some of these smaller sellers that we see on kind of a granular basis?
It's a big day for everybody, and it's a big day. Like, if you look at Pattern's $1 billion plus business, right? And so they're the second largest Amazon. They have the second largest Amazon selling account, out of 3 million selling accounts, right? So they've built a wildly successful business. They're only surpassed by Anchor, right, which is a brand that I think many people in the industry know. I think for that business, and I think for any business, it's a huge day. Now, I would say, if you're looking at, an agency or an aggregator, anybody that has a conglomerate of brands, everybody's going to see a pop. The significance of that pop is going to be based on sort of the category segmentation. If you look at a business like Pattern is very supplement heavy, so they're going to see lift, but most people aren't jumping out of bed on Prime Day to go buy multivitamins or vitamin D, right? If you look at some of the top 3 items from the last years, it's Roombas, Instapots, and like 23andMe DNA tests, right? So if you look at, if you think about more of the high-end gadget type of brands, those brands do, incredibly well. I know we had a brand outlet that we worked with that did a $300 baby monitor or smart sock baby monitor, and it would always be their biggest day of the year, tremendous day, right? And so anybody who is selling some type of gadget in the price point north of $100 who does a deep discount on this day will see incredible sales velocity.
Interesting. Clayton, what do you see on your end? Is there anything unique, especially with all the different tools and how you guys aggregate things? Anything unique findings there?
Yeah, so wish I had a better answer for you there, Blair. So actually Carbon 6 is just over like a year old. Last Prime Day, Carbon 6 had like 2 softwares and one of them was in wholesale. So very few, we've moved fast. We bought 15 companies in the past 12 months. So I came on in November and the company was only 6 months old at that time. So this is going to be our first legitimate Prime Day Of course we can talk to the prior owners and talk to them and say, hey, if the software has been around for 3 years, what did the data look like? What did the numbers look like? But I'm also a seller, right? And I'm just going to parrot everything that Tony said, that it obviously depends on your vertical, what you're selling. And at the end of the day, I think you have a lot of choice over how big it is for you. What you do with your discounts, what you do with your pricing, do you have the inventory to sustain an incredible Prime Day and then be ready for the rest of Q3 going into Q4? Or have you had problems getting products over from China? And are you running out of stock? In that case, maybe you don't take advantage of Prime Day. Maybe you don't make these huge swings for the fences. So I think it just depends on where you're at with your business. But regarding how all these softwares perform, and obviously inside the softwares are the sellers and what their sales are looking like. I'd love to give you an update afterwards, but because literally we had 2 softwares at this time last year, limited data in my brain.
I got it. Then we'll dive right into some of the technical things here. And this one, Tony, it's directed at you. Philip, I want your insights here, especially as you're jumping into things with the brands that you see, and everything on your guys' folks and global strategy for Prime Day specifically. How does that change? And Tony, please start. When it comes to your experience on more of a national scale, so brands that have ability in Canada, the US, maybe they have UK and global domination too. Does the strategy change? Are you seeing inputs and outputs that differ country to country, or do you guys kind of have more of a unified process kind of across all brands, all marketplaces? How do you guys think about this coming up to these special days?
Yeah, I think, it's a great question, and so I would say that every geography is very unique. And sort of deserves its own attention. Now that said, every business has a finite set of resources, and the ROI from each geography is still different, right? And so I would say, that being said, while we are selling and doing deals in all geographies, we're still doing a US first approach, because the majority of business, 90% of business is still coming from the US. If you think about that, like in general, like I'll talk about Canada, like, Canada has 10% of the US population, right? So, you would think or hope, hey, if I'm doing X in the US, I should be able to get 10% of that in Canada. And most people are really seeing like 4% of their US sales that come from Canada, right? So, or their Canadian sales are 4% of their US sales volume, not 10% of their US sales volume. And so, it's interesting, like, but you have to know each market. So like, Canada has been overall like a late adopter to e-commerce, just as a population. And Canada was not a COVID friendly country, right? So in terms of warehousing and shipping, there were many fulfillment centers where, while in the US, they, were open with safety precautions, in Canada, they were just shut down for months and months at a time. And so, Canada has not been kind, in these, these recent months. And so just getting inventory, like, and we had, there was tons of time where we could have sold, a ton more in Canada had we been able to actually get the inventory in, or get someone to ship the inventory that was in the warehouses, right? So I think we have to think about, like, what is going on in each geography, and what are your roadblocks going to be in each geography uniquely. I think when you're selling products, typically when someone's expanding, if they're in US first, right, they're going to expand to English speaking countries first, right? Because you have less labeling and packaging change that needs to happen. So they're going to go, Canada, they're going to go UK, they're going to go, Australia. Australia is a smaller market, but it's interesting. Like in Australia, we've seen over the last 5 years, where eBay was, the dominant player in Australia consistently. Over the last 5 years, Amazon has really been beginning to take market share, and they will surpass them, and that will happen. But I think you have to figure out what sells, right? Because and you can go and look at Amazon, and Amazon typically will publish a doc, either internally or externally, every year that shows the top 10 Prime Day items for each geography. And so it's different by country. Like if you look, like the top 10 items in Japan, are interestingly many items I've never heard of, or items that I probably wouldn't personally buy, but they're very different than things that would sell in the US. And so I think it's really important when and when people are launching, when people, there's an old movie, you guys have probably not seen this. It's called Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. And now I'm forgetting the guy's name. The baseball one. He did the voice of Darth Vader. Yes. So the tagline from that movie is like, if you build it, they will come. Right. And so I think what a lot of people think when they're expanding into new geographies is like, oh, if you build it, if I build the listing and just send the inventory in, people will just buy the stuff. And that's not true, right? So that isn't true. So I think you have to be, you really have to understand when you're expanding into a market, and this is probably sort of off the original question you asked me, but when you're expanding into a market, you really need to understand the customer base of that market and the geography in that market. Like in China, in China, the color green is bad, right? So when you're doing financial statements in China, everything positive is in red, which is the exact opposite of the United States, right? But green is bad luck. So if you're selling jackets or lunch boxes and they're green, nobody's going to buy them. Or a very significantly small percentage of people are going to purchase that color, right? And so, by knowing your customer base and the nuances of those geographies, you can make better choices about what you actually launch. And then leading up to a day like a Prime Day, you can see what's actually selling. But if you do have a product that you've tested and validated and that is able to actually sell and get market share in that country, right? I think you have to think proportionately, what are we spending? Like what portion of that business does that represent from your overall pie? When you're deciding, if you're going to commit money to a deal or if you're going to commit on-channel or off-channel marketing dollars, to support those deals. So I know for us, we're doing deals in all countries, but we're not over-indexing ad spend in other geographies for this particular Prime Day, like we are in the U.S. And I think just historically, in some cases, there are European countries or Canada where CPCs are lower than they are in the U.S., but the conversion rates are also much lower. So it takes a lot. So even though you're paying less for a click, it's taking more clicks for somebody to actually buy. So I think you just have to be mindful of that. But if you're expanding globally, I think you really want to be thoughtful about how much budget you want to allocate to each country, and if you want to do it all, what deals you're running, and what your split is going to be between on channel and off channel traffic drivers, because there are some cases, and like I said, I've been doing this with Amazon for 7 years, but there's some brands and some cases where I would say, you may be better off not actually spending money on Amazon and using off channel or other influencer campaigns to drive external traffic. And I think just thinking about traffic more in general, I like to use like this analogy of a rowboat, right? And so you have this rowboat and you have these two oars in the water, right? And in order to go forward. And so one of those oars is like your Amazon PPC. And so with our Amazon PPC or on channel, what we're doing is we're capturing and directing the existing traffic that comes to Amazon. With our off channel, whether it's YouTube, influencer, Google, Facebook, right? What we're doing is we're trying to get people that aren't on the website to go to the website, right? So we're trying to get more people who are not shopping to shop, right? So if we can capture and direct the people that show up, and we can figure out how to get more people to show up, then we have both oars in the water and we're moving in a good direction. And I think, 2 summers ago, Amazon obviously changed their algorithm, which was big news, and they, prioritize, external search ranking, versus internal PPC. So you can, you used to be able to spend a lot of money on PPC and get a bunch of clicks and it would help your ranking. And, PPC still influences ranking to a degree, but if you can rank, high on Google for a particular search term, that's actually at this point in time, a better use of your money in terms of just long-term organic sales, if that makes sense. So that's a long-winded answer. I hope I covered it.
No, bang on. You covered it and some. It's super fun. Like we saw this brand beforehand, and they were popular on Amazon.com. They were umbrellas, and they had like really bright, colorful ones. They were crushing it in the US and Canada. They expanded to the UK, but they were like neon colors, like neon greens, bright pinks. And then they were trying to figure out, they're like, we're spending a bunch of money in the UK, but we're just not converting the same. They're like, why are we plummeting here and our ACOS is so high? And they didn't touch the market in terms of like, okay, well, the UK market, it seems like it's more shades, like the blacks, the grays, like a more simple light, right? And because of this, like they just the product market fit, it was so simple in the US and Canada, it made a lot of sense. But then they go to the UK and like the demo on paper is the same, but then actual from like a country perspective, it just doesn't make sense. So it's really interesting to see. Phil, on your end, on the Canadian side, obviously there's a lot of campaigns you're managing up here. For how is that changing? Is there anything changing between those U.S. and Canadian campaigns? And I know Tony had his opinion on the Canadian side, and you have to give us a little bit of leg room here because we're not working with much up here in Canada, so we have to do with what we can. But Philip, any points there is interesting.
100%. I'm from Toronto, so I gotta give love to Canada. I'm sorry, Tony. He was pretty bang on with everything he said. The one thing I would also want to stress is, you do need to know your customer. You need to know where you should be putting the most of your effort to, but you also need to know your costs per geography as well. With Canada, like Tony said, the supply chain just quite isn't here yet compared to how some of the shipping prices and FBA fees are in the States, especially on an event like Prime Day where customers are expecting discounts and expecting you slashing sometimes even 30% off the top. You need to make sure that you have enough margin there, and really take it marketplace by marketplace. If you only have 10,000 units that you're able to move from your main distributor to these Amazon facilities in US and Canada, you need to know, do I have enough margin to advertise on this one? If I only have 25% margin in Canada, can I just be pushing this on a 20% discount and hoping that 5% covers it, but I can't advertise? Or should you be moving that to the States and pushing more of that because you have a higher margin? That's just something you also need to take into account, because the last thing you want at the end of the day is, okay, great, I acquired 10,000 new customers over the weekend, but I made $10. That's obviously not the goal at all. So that's something you also want to keep in mind.
Tony, a question here. It's from Jack. Jack, keep hitting with these questions, huh? How much did you increase your ad spend on Prime Day? Loaded question. It's a very loaded question. Tony, how would you answer that?
So I would say what you want to do is Prime Day is going to have an influx of demand, right? So my guess is right now you have a set of campaigns running and you have certain bids and certain budgets, and your CPC is going to be lower than the bids you're setting, and you're probably not running out of budget, right? And so what's going to happen is, as this traffic influx happens, you're going to end up, your CPC is going to start to move towards the top end of your bidding range, and you're going to start using your daily budgets or running out. And so what I would say is, if you're happy with your ROI, and depending on your category, right? So I would say, like, if you wanted to throw in your category, I can give you a more specific answer for your product. But like I would say, let's say you're doing supplements or cabinet hinges, I would actually tell you to not spend any more money than what you're currently spending. And I would actually tell you, lower your average bids by 25%. If you are selling something like a waterproof shower radio or some sort of gadget in that sector, what I would say is, you can consider keeping your bids at the same level or increasing them slightly, maybe 10-15%. But what you really want to do for the Prime Day period, I would say you can easily increase your budget by 100 to 300%. Just depending on the traffic that's coming in. And I would do that. And you could figure out, do I want to go, say, 150% for my brand in general, or 300% for items that maybe I have a lightning deal on or a Prime exclusive deal on? I would do that. But I would say, as long as your ROI is good, if your budget goes up, 100 to 300%, that's fine. I would be careful about your bidding, because that's going to go up in general. And I think it's just really important to know what your break-even point is, and what your long-term strategy is. Because I would say, if you know your break, you don't want to lose money, because that's never like the best idea. But if you wanted to run Prime Day, up to your break-even point, such that you believe that increased velocity will improve your ranking, so that over the next couple weeks, as your price returns to normal, you end up getting the benefit of the organic sales from that increased ranking. That is also a strategy. So I think, that just comes into, what are your margins and what is your appetite for risk? But I would say if you're, if your appetite for risk is really high, move towards your break-even point. If your appetite for risk is moderate, keep your bids flat, maybe increase 10 to 15% on average, and then, double to triple your planned spend for those 2 days. But I would also say, not just Prime Day specifically, I would also say for the entirety of Prime Week, I would say plan to spend at least twice as much, if not more, than you would in a typical week. So for the Prime Week, if you are comfortable spending 2 to 3x what you would normally spend in a typical week, that would be ideal if you have good products in a good category that are on promotion.
Tony, I have a quick question for you. Day parting's been a thing for a while for Amazon, but they just recently released like the Amazon Stream, trying to make it easier for people, and you can kind of see the hourly more quick. Would you recommend that a lot of these like medium or even small size sellers even step into that and try to change their bid percentages by the hour per the day, or should they just be upping those bids at that 10 to 15% rate overall? What do you kind of think is the marginal utility of that?
I would not do any day parting for Prime Day. I would not do any day parting for Prime Day. And the reason is you're going to have a lot of people that are clicking and adding to cart. Like, so you're going to have a whole bunch of people that are shopping at different parts of the day and adding things to their carts, but we don't know when they're going to buy. Like I'm strange, and I won't actually buy anything until the end of the day. Right. So I'll take like the whole day, I'll shop, I'll add things to the cart. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, what are all the things that are in here? Do I really want these? And then, okay, do it. And I think, so I would not do day parting for Prime Day or Prime Week. If we want to open up this question to, a discussion about day parting in general, like I have different thoughts on that, and we can, I think, but for Prime Day specifically, I would recommend that you not do day parting.
Got it. Awesome.
C'est la vie. That's good to know. That's super good to know. Phil, that's a really good question too.
I guess that could have been a overrated, underrated part of the webinar. My bad.
I think I'm going to add that into the end. Clayton, we'll have to get your feedback on it too. That's going to be a special part of it. One of the other things I wanted to ask you guys, and I want to leave it open to the table depending on who has a really strong opinion on it, was that Prime Day's coming. We're launching campaigns. Any strategy you guys are utilizing, and we also have some other really cool questions, so we got to get to those. Okay, cool. How are we measuring this? How do we measure success? What does the proper KPIs look like? Everyone's going to have a little bit different of an opinion, but Phil or Clayton or Tony, of course, with everything you've been doing, what does a measure of success look like? And is there a few key data points that are being prioritized in the conversation you guys are having? If so, what are they? Maybe Tony or Clayton, you guys start, and then Phil, please chime in.
Yeah, I think so. It depends on the business. Like I would say in my previous business, the number one KPI would have been top line sales, right? It would have been like, we were working with brands that were paying for their own advertising, so we weren't really worried about the margin, and it was strictly top line sales. In the business that I'm currently in, they have different goals and mandates, and profitability is, certainly we want sales, but profitability is much more of a focus. So I think, I would say the metrics, like if I were to break goals into like 3 categories, it would either be, top line sales, profitability, or new customer acquisition, depending on the lifetime value of your product or brand, right? I would kind of break those into those 3 buckets. And then I would say, if we're looking at metrics, for each of those, if your goal is to just sell as much as I can, because I'm trying to either liquidate inventory or I'm trying to get my ranking up for the future, then, I wouldn't worry about, your ACoS numbers so much and things like that. I would just really be focused on sales. I would also be curious to look at your ratio of organic to paid sales, because that's going to tell you a lot about, I'm using the word health for lack of a better vocabulary word, but health of your brand in terms of brand recognition and how many people actually know me and what is my level of brand awareness. If you're looking at profitability, obviously your ACoS tacos and your bottom line margin dollars when it's all said and done is going to be important. And then I think if you're looking for just new customer acquisition and long-term growth, you'll be pulling probably more top of funnel advertising levers, which have to get factored into the equation, which aren't necessarily going to show up on your Amazon dashboards. So that is, that's sort of how I would bucket your metrics that you prioritize success by based on the goal that you have for your brand, right? Like, and if my goal personally in life was to bench press 400 pounds, like I wouldn't be worried about how much I weigh on the scale. Like I couldn't take that into, like, if I was worried about how much I weigh, then bench pressing 400 pounds may never happen, right? So like I think you use the metric that most aligns with the goal that you're trying to accomplish.
Clayton, any thoughts there?
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of what Tony just said. I would say that a big one that he also mentioned on earlier, I love and hate Tony at the same time. Like, he thought that we didn't know what field the dreams were, like that was. And so that bothered me. But then he like talked about something that I think is super important, which is external traffic. And I think that's a huge thing. And I think a big KPI on this could be, hey, like, can you use Prime Day to rank in front of your competitors on specific keywords? Like, I think a very like niche way you could attack Prime Day is to increase on specific keywords that you really, really care about, instead of just like he talked about. Generally speaking, I would argue that you would just keep your bids pretty like standard. He talked about raising them 10 or 15%. I talked to a lot of people on this. I think you keep them right around where they should be, but you increase the budgets, which is what he exactly said was, and he talked about it doing it during the week. So I agree with all of that. But I think if you really made it like, if you made some specific goals, because if you said, I want to get this many sales, that's awesome. If you want to get this much profit, that's awesome. But the day comes and the day goes and then it's over. Where I think you can really win on Prime Day and around that, and just is setting more specific goals around keyword rank. And then you'll see that juice for many weeks and many months. So, if you could increase your budget more in one area, or if you really went after certain keywords both on and off Amazon using influencers, I think that's one that you would slap yourself on the back many months from now for taking advantage of it in a way that most people weren't thinking about it, to rank for specific keywords that will pay dividends for a long time.
No, I agree with that 100%. I think that, and that would be, like, as I was talking about goals, like that would be your goal, right? You'd say, hey, this is the short list of keywords I want to rank for. But I'm 100% on board with that.
Interesting.
Can I answer any of the questions in the chat? Is that offline?
Yeah. Let's do them
in here.
Here, let me check this one out. Let's answer some of these live here.
Melissa,
is there anything you would recommend?
I was just thinking, what's the number one must-have for Prime Day? That's from Melissa. Like a deal, having a deal is the number one must-have. I would say that. What is? I'm sorry to cut you off, Blair. What was your question?
No. The other one here was, and there was a couple here between Melissa and then Kyle. They're actually asking very specific ones in terms of like the categories too. It was like drinkware, fishing rods, apparel.
Those are great.
Sets,
so the drinkware,
gift
fishing
items.
rods and reels, and kitchen sets, I think, are all great categories for Prime Day. Apparel is really hard. Apparel is my least favorite of all categories. Like high return rate, lots of sizes. Like there's just a lot of challenges with apparel in general. But I think if you have high-end Yeti style drinkware and you have the right deal, and if you did not get a deal, do a coupon. One thing that's interesting on Amazon is 68% of shoppers who click on coupons do not redeem them. So you get the benefit of the coupon in the listing, but more than 2/3 of the time, people don't actually take advantage of the discount. So like you should do that. But apparel is going to be tough. But if you got cookware, drinkware, fishing rods and reels, those are all great categories for you to promote with ads or do a deal on for Prime Day.
And I think when they were adding these in the comments, I think it was around the time where you said you would double or triple your overall ad budget depending on the category. And then you were like, if you're more specific with the category, I can give you better information. And then people started throwing in their categories.
Yes, those would be categories I would double and triple down on. Baby, somebody put in baby. I would probably do if you now baby's going to be dependent, right? If it's like pacifiers, no. But if it's car seats, strollers, something that's high end, that you can do, that you have good margin on, and you can do a discount for. Yes, I think that those are great promo items for Prime Day.
Interesting. Phil, what's your opinion on the clothing one? Obviously, there's a couple like big brands in terms of the clothing you have to do in Canada. I'm assuming it's just as bad as Tony's mentioning. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, return rates can make or break your business, to be completely honest. The main way that you could just go about mitigating that is making sure your listing makes sense. Apparel will have one of the highest refund rates in any category. It's just how it works on Amazon. But you could try to mitigate that by making sure that you have like accurate sizing charts. If you have a video and actually showing the height and weight of the model, what people are doing on Shopify or on their personal websites to better educate the actual client about the clothes they're getting. Sometimes people don't always translate that over to their Amazon store, just because they think it's a different base, but they still need those educational pieces so that you can maybe take 5 or 10% off that refund rate.
Is there anything extra traffic Prime Day helping with Q4 sales? Tony, Clayton, anything here? How can they mix and match? Can you play a long game here to try to benefit it for Q4?
To any way to use the extra traffic. So yeah, I mean, like this is what Tony like hinted towards earlier. My thought is that there's no day bigger except for maybe Black Friday where people are like, oh my God, there's a sale going on. So anywhere you put and remind people on the internet that it's Prime Day. Because I don't like my mom like always shops on Prime Day, but she's always like very surprised it's Prime Day. She's like, Clayton, did you know it's Prime Day? I'm like, I'm very aware, mother. But so if you're advertising on anywhere else, like an influencer, Facebook or Google or wherever, people are very likely on Prime Day to click that and to go over to Amazon. And that goes to where you can use influencers to get external traffic. Tony was talking about earlier about how things changed a couple of years ago. Amazon's also come out with the Amazon Attribution program around that same time. They are, in my opinion, the best sort of sale you can get on Amazon is one that came off of Amazon. If you can tie that to a keyword, like if you're advertising on Google and get that extra rank juice, I think this is where like the most savvy Amazon sellers are considering moving some of that budget that they would have put in Amazon off Amazon and getting the extra rank juice that comes from when an influencer sends somebody to your Amazon page, or if you're sending it from a Google AdWord to Amazon. I think that's the way that you can become the most savvy. And then on Amazon, going back to what my theory is, which is you maybe increase your budget, but maybe you don't increase your budget for keywords where you're already ranking number 1 or number 2. Maybe you do it for a thing where you're ranking number 10 and you want to get up to number 1 or 2. So increase your budget off Amazon and on Amazon for that specific keyword. And that means, hey, you just jump because of the extra traffic and because everybody's excited about getting onto Amazon on that day, which is Prime Day. You just jumped up in keyword rank, and that's going to reap dividends for weeks and months and potentially years if you can be competitive and maintain that positioning. So that's my thought, is be clever about how you're spending your ad budget and how you're taking advantage of extra traffic. Everybody's sales go up on Prime Day, but how do you differentiate yourself from the competition to really take advantage, to put your product in a place that it'll keep winning after Prime Day? That's my thought.
It's not about a 1 day win. It's about a 6-month win.
And I think with this one, I don't know if there's anything you're going to do with this traffic that's going to directly convert to a sale in Q4, but I think you can certainly use this as a proxy for what Black Friday and Q4 are going to be like. Like if you, whatever you're doing, like if you run out of budget, like you know that you need to budget more for Black Friday. I think, you know, setting up Amazon attribution is really critical because it's going to give you insights, you know, to the customer journey, the off Amazon customer journey, and where you want to invest or how you should invest, you know, off channel in the future. So I think looking at your data and just being really mindful of what happens in Prime Day is going to help you be better prepared for Q4 and make better decisions in Q4.
Yeah, I would add to that and say you could spy, like this is a Carbon 6 tool, so like full transparency there, but you can spy on your competition with tools like AMZ Alert. A lot of alert systems, it has to be your product because it connects to your Amazon Seller Central. But with AMZ Alert, you can stick any ASIN and the merchant ID, and it'll send you updates. So if you set that up like the week of Prime Day, you'd be able to get alerts, and it's a good tactic year round to know what your competition is doing. But if your competition lowers your price or lowers the price, changes the picture, changes deals, things like that, like you'll get notifications that something changed. So you can say, hey, what did my like top 2 or 3 competitors do during Prime Day? You can guess that they're going to have similar strategies on Black Friday and in Q4, and just learning from your competition and what other people are doing in the industry is beneficial for knowing how to best compete at times where it's even more important than Prime Day.
So this one's Dan had a pretty and I guess it's not a question, but Tony, it goes right back to what you're saying here. Just because they clip a coupon doesn't mean that they purchased. I see a better conversion rate at discounted price rather than a coupon at a lower price. So I'm a firm believer that you'll get more sales by just lowering the price and not requiring people to redeem a coupon. Tony, give me the data. What do we got?
I don't think so. Dan isn't wrong here. Like, there's nothing wrong about what we're saying. Like, I mean, even intuitively, like people can clip a coupon, you know, and not purchase. That is true, right? If you lower your price, your conversion rate will go up. That is also fundamentally true. I think the thing here is just balance, right? Because if you go with a coupon, you will get more traffic. And again, not everybody will use that coupon. So you're going to be getting sales at different prices. If you drop your price, you're committing, or guaranteeing essentially a lower price for each sale. Like, that's going to happen. So I think, if the goal is velocity or conversion rate, drop the price like that, and that will 100% happen. And I think that there's if you're focused on, profitability or things like that, I think that there's a dance in here, that can be done.
Yeah. Anything on your end? Is there anything that's changed there?
Yeah, I would also, it depends on the category as well. I lean more towards reducing the Prime exclusive discounts. I think that works a lot. Your ideal customer, and you'll have a higher conversion rate for someone who's using FBA or searching by Prime only. So I've been focusing towards there as well in the past when we're reducing prices for our clients.
I think you guys are both right. Like, and I think there is a dance. It's like having a toolbox, right? You just because like the hammer's better in your opinion for most jobs doesn't mean you can't use a wrench. So if you have like especially a higher priced product, sometimes like a $1 coupon is like nothing as far as like your margin. But if that grabs people's attention, then that's like a great tool to use in that case. Maybe if your margins are really low, then coupons don't make sense. Like, I think it just depends on your product, which sucks because like people just want straight answers. They're like, give me the answer. Yeah. And it sucks to be like, it kind of depends, but it's the truth. Like, on higher priced products, that coupon thing can grab people's attention. And if that increases your overall profitability, like that's the goal at the end of the day. So it doesn't have to be a huge coupon. But yeah, lower price.
Well,
I can tap.
I've also seen it like we're
Go ahead. We're all talking. I'm just so excited to answer everybody's questions. So I'll pause there.
No. All I was gonna say, like I've seen coupons have really cool utility when you're running like a display ad, for example, on like a competitor's listing, where like if you are already almost 1-to-1 with the competitor's pricing and you run a display ad that has like some sort of pricing discount, even if it's like a little 5%, it looks just really damn good on the listing. So I'd be really interested to see if, like the actual some like real statistical data on like the conversion if you change the price point. We might have to geek out after and try to figure it out, but I think there's also just like a marketing psychology behind it, right? Like will they pull a trigger because there's a coupon? Like some people go to the store and they'll only buy it because it's on discount. So like you have to almost think like human behavior and what that looks like. But anyway, we can geek out all day. There was a Stephanie one. Tony, you're about to jump into that one. Answer away.
Yeah. So this posts is some. I really like the posts initiative. So I just in general, I just think it's a neat thing. So let me kind of put this into perspective. You're not going to be able to put deal and promo language in the posts. I think as a general best practice, you should just do posts, right? On regularly. You should post as often as you can. I think you don't need to make new content. You can use your existing organic social media content and just repurpose it here. And the visibility is low. Like the reason I like posts is because it doesn't cost you any money, right? So almost everything on Amazon costs you more money, right? And so what I like about this is it's one of the few things that doesn't. And so this is just kind of a sweat equity thing. So Amazon they released last week their Prime Day advertising guide, and I read through it, and they were so excited because they were boasting that there's 9 million unique shoppers that follow brands on Amazon. So if you go to the Amazon store, they have that little button that lets you follow, and then once you start following a brand, then you can see the posts, right? So that sounds exciting, but if you put this into context. So there's 125 million unique households in the United States. And I'll just use U.S. numbers because it's the biggest. So there's 125 million households. There's 145 million Prime members. So the U.S. has more Prime members than it does households. So that means there's a bunch of houses where two people both have a Prime membership. And so when you can kind of compare that. And there's more shoppers than there are Prime members, right? So when you look at that 9 million number, like just in the context of that, it's actually quite small. But I do think having a really good store and doing posts just in general on a regular cadence is important. I don't think there's anything special that you should or even can do for Prime Day other than just posting regularly and then doing your best to get a following. And I think that the better the following, the bigger the following, the better.
Phil, you got anything there?
Yeah, in terms of posts, Tony said it great. Like your organic Instagram, or if you have Facebook already, it's stuff on LinkedIn that you're posting. Amazon Post tries to go away from a lot of what Amazon images have been in the past, which are these very heavy infographics, very gamified, super high callouts and all this, and giving a person an option to almost go back to giving the attention to the product itself and making it just stand out. So any of your any photo shoots you have, stuff of that nature, just post it, put an hour aside a week, try to just schedule a bunch of posts to go up. And if they hit on one of your related brands or related categories and people are swiping through, you can get some success for it for sure.
I know we've been doing tons of questions, but I'm jamming with these too. And if anyone has to run it too, hopefully we want to do another 10 minutes or so because I have an overrated underrated I want to get to. But Takashi actually sent his listing here too. We've never done this. You guys want to do it live and go through the listing?
A live listing on it?
I was like, why not, right? All right, man. So I'm gonna move a couple things here just so we can do this. Let me try to pull it up now, Takashi. Before we do this, I want to make sure feedback is welcome here in case I don't know if maybe Tony or Philip or Clayton woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but of course we want to give honest feedback, of course.
We're not sponsored by Takashi, so we'll be very honest in our feedback.
Here, give me 2 seconds here. Can I share my screen? Let me see if I can do this. All right. How's this look?
I can see it.
All right. Maybe Tony, you start. Give us your initial feedback on thoughts, and then Philip and Clayton, please chime in here. We'll do this for a minute or two, and then I got some overrated, underrated. I want to throw past you guys.
Well, so this is Dreambeam Pro is. Let me read the title. Dreambeam Pro is LED light therapy mask, 7 color, 115 LEDs, cordless face mask light, therapy, facial treatment, skincare, rejuvenation, acne treatment, wrinkle reduction, red light therapy, photon mask. So we got a lot of keywords in there. We got a lot of keywords jumbled into the title. I'm not saying to remove them. What I would consider, like when I read that, this costs $200, right? So at $200, I think you have to be really clear and communicate a unique value proposition, right? So I don't know what this is, right? And so I think helping someone understand like what it really is important, and communicating that clearly in the title. I'm just unfamiliar with this category or this market. So there could be people obviously, looking for these that know exactly what this is. I think if you look at your hero image is turned to the side, which is, I would probably do a front-facing hero image versus a side-facing hero image. So, just on a title basis, that's tough. And then if we look through the images, so the images, that one shows colors. I think that's fine. I think there could be some TLC on the images. So I think you do a hero image, or maybe you do one other image of a profile of the product. Maybe you have 2 images here that show the different colors. You only really need one of those, and there's nothing here that is, gosh, what's the word? There's no people, there's no shoppers, there's no customers, right? There's nothing in here that shows people using this. And we know conversion, and this is just in general, conversion rate increases when you have images that have people, right? If you're selling a yoga mat and it's just a picture of somebody's feet sitting on a weight bench in the gym and the yoga mat's on the floor, like when you have images that include people, or even parts of people, like hands, feet, a smile, like you get better conversion. And also when you have people like using things. And so like one example I'll give, we were this one guy, they sold first aid kits. And I'm like, you should show this in a pickup truck, in a boat, in a cabin, at a school, you can use your imagery to show like all the different use cases for your product as well. But with this, I would try to clean up the title a little bit, and I would I can't read the bullets because they're too small, but I would also try and make sure that your image stack is really prescriptive and has a couple they're called lifestyle images that include people using the product.
Phil, any comments there?
Yeah, and Takashi said in the chat he has new graphics coming soon, which is great. That's probably the number one thing I would say as well. It is a $200 product, so you want to show that premium feel. Not necessarily an us versus them as much, but just showing that premium feel, having a model using it at a spa, at the house, just conveying that more. This is worth $300, and we're giving it to you for $200, rather than this is just a product. And then the other thing as well is it looked like one of your bullet points. If you could just go back to the listing real quick, Blair. You want to make sure that the bullet points itself are obviously indexing high-level keywords. And your 4th bullet point is the word science. I don't I didn't personally do the research on this, but you might want to see if how people are interacting and learning through more of a top level, top of funnel journey to get to an LED light therapy mask. If they are searching up the word science, or if you could put that somewhere else, you could probably also fit, if it's not over 1,000 characters already, a fifth bullet point to get some more lower long tail keywords. And then just as Tony said as well, I'd probably clean up the title a bit and get out the word is out of your third word. That's not a priority one keyword, I'd imagine. But overall, it's a very strong listing.
Does this have A+ content?
It does, and it's like the same content for the most part. Like the first few images are repeating. I think you can add extra value here at the bottom two photos. I just think there's too much going on in the photos, to be honest. Like there's a lot going on. These aren't different color variations. This is like a derma thing for your skin that has different lights that emit out of it. So I agree with Tony that if you have one, they get the idea that there's lots of different wavelengths. I've actually seen this product before. I know somebody else that was interested or selling something similar. And I was using like Seller Tools LQS Pro, which like is very similar to what Blair's got on his screen, where it's like a listing quality score. LQS is like a bit more thorough, so it does a lot of it for me. There's some things here like there's not a coupon on this product. Now you are running like it shows a 20% discount, but I think this is a great opportunity to where you can run a coupon on a product with this much margin. I think that the margins on these are pretty decent. And then just repeating what a lot of the other guys said, I think that I haven't done the keyword research for this product, but I would imagine that the bullet points, the title definitely have room for improvement. I love that you have a video, but your A+ content, I'm not sure because I'm checking on my computer. I'm not on Blair's, but it's like really hard to read. Like the customer reviews, like it's really, even on my computer, it's hard to read. And same thing with your images. Like you have your fifth image, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is like an entire, like journal in itself, like an article.
Publication.
That's pretty hard to read if you don't have like the zoom in on your computer. And so maybe think about people that are looking at this on their phone screens, like from a mobile perspective. Like, are they going to be able to like easily and to read that? So I would do some research on how this looks on mobile as well, because like 50% or so of sales.
There's also there's tons of real estate here for for content too. Like these are straight images, but the ability to add some text here to get more keywords indexed for it, it's great real estate. But it's only images, so obviously it doesn't.
I would also it looks like in the A+ content, there's two models. There's the Derma Beam and the Derma Beam Pro. So potentially in your A+ content as well, rather than making it another competitor analysis, because it looks like you have that in the image yourself, showing off the rest of the product line you have as well to try to get that cross sell going. If someone doesn't want to necessarily splash $200 on the Pro, they might want to look at the more inexpensive model, and you could still capture sale.
Yeah.
The challenge with this item is you have like I think there's an educational component here. And like Blair was saying, like you got to use the text. I think you need to use your images for images, but you can use your A+ content in your Amazon store to communicate what this is, do some education and the unique value proposition. If your store doesn't have a video, like this is a great place for an explainer video. And
he does have a video.
I would also consider.
I was watching it and the volume was real loud. That's why I made that face.
I would do some Amazon Lives. I think this is actually a really good candidate product for an Amazon Live. And it's also a really good candidate for like a Prime Day deal product if you can really get the listing right and communicate what it is and why someone should have it.
Yeah, I'd recommend checking out LQS Pro. It's like the most thorough like product listing analyzer. It does like 40 or plus more things. Like it'll say whether it has posts, related videos, and if you want to get more like idea than I can give you right now on this video, it'll go through like everything from A+ content to related posts, related videos. It's thorough. So, but good job on the 11 5-star reviews. I think that's one of the things we didn't talk about. Like that's a great start. So hopefully those keep coming. Yeah. I feel like we tore it apart. We should say something nice.
No, the gosh, it's there's tons of room for improvement. I think at the end of the day, which is great. We never done one of those on this, and of course we gotta speed up a couple things here. But there was two things I wanted to mention, and in 5 minutes we'll shut it down. But I have a couple rapid fires we'll share over this afterwards. These are just some things that Philip was building on his, and thanks Philip for handling this, which were some last minute changes. So there's some things you can't control, especially like specific exclusive Prime Day base promos, but things like optimizing your storefront to make sure that from a brand awareness, you're getting full utility, making sure your listings are optimized. It's not too late. If you have time this weekend, Takashi, try to find another couple images, try to find ones that convert better, or get a little bit more aggressive with the ads while you still have a chance. We talked about Amazon posts, which I think is super cool. So set aside some time if you want, set up a Canva account, try to make some Amazon posts. I think there's a lot of utility there and it's hyper underrated. And then also just checking your ad campaigns as an obvious one, as you guys can imagine. Okay, cool. Well, we still have 5 more minutes. I wanted to go through something. I think you guys are absolutely going to enjoy this. Is a quick rapid fire. So all you guys need to say, we won't have time to go into detail about it, but I just need one word from each of you as I say these words: overrated or underrated. So I'm going to spit out a word, and you guys say overrated, underrated. We'll start with Phil, then we'll go to Tony, then we'll go to Clayton. I have around 5 or 10 of them I want to get through. You boys ready?
Yes, sir.
TikTok.
Underrated.
Tony.
Can I be neutral? Can I be neutral or no? I'll be. It's probably underrated. It is probably underrated.
Yeah, I would say underrated. I want to say more things out loud, but if I only get one word, underrated.
Yeah.
Instagram.
I'd say overrated.
I'll go with underrated.
I'll also go underrated. I mean, I'm just looking at this from like an external traffic standpoint and whether or not you like are good at what you're doing. I have more words, but I'll shut up.
Amazon India.
Underrated.
Extremely underrated.
Yeah, I go underrated as well.
Amazon Live.
Oh, it depends on the category so much. Underrated.
Underrated.
I can't go in depth, but underrated.
I'll go overrated on this one. I struggle.
It's great for educational pieces. Depends on the category.
I just want to be different for once.
Expanding to brick and mortar. Physical retail.
Oh. I'd say underrated.
Extremely underrated.
I struggle with this one so hard. Like, you got to figure out a lot first before you go to brick and mortar. Depends on where you're at in your journey. If you're at that point, then underrated. But if you're not, then like, don't worry about it. Like right now.
If you have the margin, grossly underrated.
Yeah.
Twitch.
Underrated.
I'm
You're
gonna
hurting
say
Tony.
underrated.
Stop.
He's not going to
I'm gonna
sleep
say
tonight.
underrated.
Yeah, I don't know enough about this one to give an honest answer. Like, I want to stay out of this one.
Vendor Central.
Interesting. Overrated.
Dinosaur. Overrated. Overrated.
Yeah, if it's not Instagram or TikTok or Twitch, it's yeah. I would say overrated as well.
Amazon Marketing Stream.
Underrated. Depends if you have the abilities to utilize it.
Underrated.
Underrated.
Amazon DSP.
Oh, this one's tough. I want to say overrated because people think it's the be-all, end-all above sponsored products, but you need to have that foundation.
I'll say extremely overrated.
I'll also say overrated for like what I think Tony wanted to say and for what Philip said, but also just that there's other places to better spend ad dollars that have an even better effect.
And the golden last one, Amazon Prime Day.
You got to say underrated. There's no other answer here. People know what it is, but it's the first one in Canada in 2 years. We got to show our love. It's underrated.
It's called one word, underrated over. Yeah, I would say Amazon Prime Day is probably, sure, underrated.
I would probably go overrated. I mean, like some of the answers I gave are, hey, treat this as a tool so that you can succeed all year long, and so you can like propel yourself above. I think this is like a catapult and like a fun day. But if you spend too much time thinking about it and not the like most like fundamental parts of your business, then I mean, one day isn't going to make up for the rest of the year. So I'd say overrated.
We could do a whole nother hour. Like we could do a weekly podcast where people show us their listings or just ask questions, and we can go through all of this.
I want to say that person that put their listing up was brave too. Yeah. Like it's not easy to like throw up your listing in front of like a bunch of people.
Yeah, and, kudos to guys.
Yeah.
All right, cool guys. I know everyone has to run, but thank you everyone firstly for watching, whether you're on the live or you're still in the demo and you held on till the end of this. Kudos and thank you. I know we didn't get through everything, but hopefully you guys got a lot of these answers to your solutions. Prime Day set up, and we're going to be adding a bunch of stuff in the post emails as well in terms of finding the whole folks between Philip, Tony, and Clayton and their LinkedIn's. Philip specifically says ask him anything in LinkedIn, so flood him with anything, and then I appreciate you guys coming on, Clayton and Tony as well. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys are all prepped up for Prime Day. It's like Christmas is coming soon.
Thanks.
Yeah, Blair, thanks for having us. You were an incredible host, moved it along at a good speed. And yeah, I'd love to connect with everybody on LinkedIn. So thanks for having me.
A lot of fun game.
Tony, you got closing words there?
You know, I would just say, well, thanks. This was fun. And yeah, I wish everybody the best. It's a great business. This business is a great business, and it's a lot of fun. And you know, keep learning, keep asking questions, and it's like tuning in a radio, right? You're moving the dial back and forth until the sound comes in clear, and that's what we're doing with this business. And so I wish everybody the best of luck.
Yeah, good luck.
I love it. All right, everyone, best of luck. Hope the best one wins. All the best, guys.
Awesome.
See ya.